Okay, so we're up about 2100, been in a big uptrend in the overnight session. Not really wanting to get long here. The market's had a heck of a run. Uh, Most likely, or what we're looking for is with the strategy turned on and coming up on the 7:30 period, there's no news release of any significance. So we're looking for the likely getting triggered into a short trade. And then at that point, looking for some downside action to come back into the previous range. So right in here, we're getting a little bit of a lift and some upward rotations, but this has been a pretty significant rally in the overnight session already. You can see how many spots since the flip. You can see where we are from P&L standpoint, not really anywhere here where I'd want to just suddenly start getting long. The market has gapped up significantly. It's not like we just broke through some key level where I might expect some breakout or range extension higher. The market has some overhead resistance nearby. And we have the strategy enabled and we're standing by. So we have everything enabled. Automation's all on, ready to play either direction. But since the iGRID is already in an uptrend, the only potential first trade we could get for the automation would be a short side trade. So we're standing by to see if we get short side trade. We're coming up, getting closer to the U.S. cash session open. And, just standing by to see what we get for this trade activity. So again, upside I think is limited here. Downside, some sort of trade back into the prior range seems plausible as we get into the 8:30 Chicago time markets open. So we'll adjust this a bit. And we're standing by. We have the automation. Everything's on. We're just waiting for trade activity after this very significant upside move from the after hour session through the U.S. cash session, coming up on the U.S. cash session. Now, right here, sometimes, depending on where the market's at, from 1 o'clock U.S. Central Time till about 2, DAX futures is trading. From 2 a.m. till about 3:30, when the EU cash markets start trading, that little window of time you can catch some of these moves sometimes. Sometimes the overnight session is very flat. So right now we're just standing by, see what the market will give us. And now we're getting some downside action as a result of the U.S. cash session open. We have been triggered into the trade. So the automation is on, conducting all the trade activity. And you can see here that we have had a shift in the iGRID indicator. That actually then triggers us into a flip trade. We're looking, for another 700 and change on top of the 2100 starting point. So the automation is set to 710 as typical. Once we're 710 in the money, then the automation will blip out the trade, and that will have hit our daily profit objective. So we do have some additional downside push right out of the open. And, the NASDAQ's a really good instrument. It has some good movements typically out of the open. So we'll see what we get here. We'll see if we get a little bit of lift before rotation lower, we're going to get triggered into another entry. That would be an add entry. So our position size will grow. That means we need even less downside movement to get to our 710. Okay, so rotation lower on price. I'm watching the P&L. We do have a second entry that was triggered by the automation. So instead of 2 MNQs, we're in 4, and it blipped and hit our 710 on the day. So we hit daily objective there. So that's basically a one and done trade. So we got the initial entry and then the add right there, and a push below that first pivot, and that was it. So getting into the following day, which is a Friday. Fridays, sometimes they really pump this thing pretty hard. You can see we had some lift here, but this is a Friday. The key thing for a Friday now, prior day trading was Thursday. This is Friday. The big thing that I try to do on Fridays is try to catch some sort of movement as quick as I can and get out of there and call it a day. So if we're coming up, it's 10:30, 11, and I'm not in the money, or the thing's just stuck in a narrow range, or there's been some back and forth with no real direction, those are days I'm likely to just shut it down and call it a day. So we are past the U.S., or we're past 8 o'clock U.S. Central Time, coming up on the U.S. cash session open period. So we're now into the cash session open. The iGRID's in a long indication, so the first potential trade, and there it is. We got a flip to the short side. So we're now triggered in. We're looking for getting up around 3,500 and change it would take to blip out the trade by adding another 710. So I'm on a 1 minute chart. So 1 minute chart is a good perspective on the market. Sometimes those 30-second charts or lower, if the market doesn't get any direction early, can get beat up a bit unless it's something really, really optimized, like you've done some really good optimization work. You have it really dialed in. This is one thing I like about the 1 minute template. I don't keep changing these settings all the time. Pretty much in the same settings I've been on for many months. And, what I do, as I mentioned some before, I'm always kind of paying attention to where there's recent support or recent resistance, depending on whether I'm long or short. That helps me to decide then if I'm in automated trades and I may be in the money, but not absolutely to my profit objective, where the trade would get blipped out, then sometimes I might just shut something down, especially if it's getting later part of the day, and call it good. So I'm already in one set of positions here on the flip. If this trades lower, I'll get an add. There's the add. Now I'm in more positions. That add helped my cost basis slightly. So if I can get any sort of push down to this level, I'd be way done on the day. The market has some resistance just above. Even if the market went up just barely and touched that first level of resistance, there's the potential we would still be short on the iGRID indicator. And the iGRID indicator can do a really good job sometimes in the type of environments where other indicators would be flipping you back and forth, and you'd be getting just, beat up on back and forth trades. It'll just stay in one direction until it sees something significant that it would say it's now trade in that direction. The bias, in this case to the downside, has now been negated by enough upside price movement analyzing the cycles, up and down cycles, and saying, okay, now it's time to get long. So it's a really good indicator. That unique math and two-dimensional smoothing definitely make a difference. Okay, so market, we are, if we come back down to this level, that'll be just below my cost basis. There's a prior support level below, just below that from earlier in the morning. Nothing significant. If I can get a push down here, then I'm really going to watch it like a hawk to get ready to blip out the trade if it doesn't get a more pronounced downside move. So right now, we'll see if we break to the upside. It would very likely be a pretty significant move. So we'll see right here if the market has the ability to break and run, flip us around and change directions, or if it's going to, come up here, push, fail, and then rotate lower and come back down and test some of that early pre-market range. Now, I will say we're getting some higher pivots on the upside. We're getting some higher pivots on the low side. So any trade down near my cost basis or below, I'll be Johnny on the spot, mainly since it's a Friday. It's getting almost to about 9:30, coming up on 10 a.m. Central Time, Chicago time. If this market can't make up its mind where it wants to go, then I don't need to be sitting here watching it anymore. I'd rather take a scratch because it's progress over perfection. I don't need to win every day. Some days the market isn't going to give you an expanded range. And there we go. We got into another ad. So our cost basis, fortunately, is going up a little bit. So if we can get one little push down here, if it doesn't break through on a Friday with as narrow as this range is, I would just get out of here and call it a weekend. I've already had 4 successful days in a row. And you have to take into account, like, your daily goal needs to take into account. Let's just say worst case scenario, you're having, let's just use the ratio of you're going for 710 a day, but you're willing to risk 900 a day. Okay, so if I have for every 21 days, 20 to 21 days in a calendar month, 20 to 21 trading days, let's say I have 4 days a month where I hit my 900 out. Now that would have to be a really bad month. But let's just say you hit it on 4 days a month, you lose 900, 900, 900. But the other 16 or 17 days, you get your 710. Hey, that's a pretty good month. Oh, we're coming down by the cost basis. Now this is an area, it's a Friday. I could just say, I'm done. I don't want to watch this anymore. So we did get some lower pivot highs up here. We had that one high pivot in the middle, then 2 lower pivot highs. So we'll see if this could break a bit lower. But right now, my focus, since it's a Friday and since we're past 10 a.m., I want to see it push and give me something to blip out of with a little bit of profit. Otherwise, I'm getting closer to the time that if it just keeps oscillating up and down around my cost basis, then I might just let go of the thing and just be done with it. Okay, a bit later we came back up, barely peeked our head above recent pivots. Now we're getting to the time of day, it's 11. I don't see any need to be in this market anymore. I'm back to right about break even. So, hey, just blip it out. And then if the market whooshes down 400 points, I don't care. I didn't lose anything. I made money for 4 days, and I'll call that a win.